heart as we join in singing Building Bridges. We will sing it today as a round, but we'll sing it a couple of times together. And then when we go into a round, I'm going to be part number 1, and these choir members are going to be part number 2. So that half of the room will sing with me, and this half of the room will sing with them when we get to the round. So let's sing it together a few times, and then we'll split into a round. Here we go. 1, 2, here we go. Building bridges between our divisions. I reach out to you. Will you reach out to me? With all of our voices and all of our visions, friends, we could make such sweet harmony. Keep going. Building bridges between our divisions. I reach out to you. Will you reach out to me? With all of our voices and all of our visions, friends, we could make such sweet harmony. Together one more time. Building bridges between our divisions. I reach out to you. Will you reach out to me? With all of our voices and all of our visions, friends, we could make such sweet harmony. Good one. Building bridges between our divisions. Group 2. I reach out to you. Will you reach out to me? With all of our voices and all of our visions, friends, we could make such sweet harmony. Keep going. Building bridges between our divisions. I reach out to you. Will you reach out to me? With all of our voices and all of our visions, friends, we could make such sweet harmony. One more time. Building bridges between our divisions. I reach out to you. Will you reach out to me? With all of our voices and all of our visions, friends, we could make such sweet harmony. Friends, we could make such sweet harmony.
May be seated. Good morning, everyone. It's a little earlier than we think. Oh, it's not, but it is, but it's not. But you all made it here. We're so glad to see you. We're so glad to be together this morning. And I don't know who it was, but someone brought the snow back. Yes, and next week we'll celebrate spring. But spring is not here yet, but you are here. And we're so glad that you're here. Not only are you here, I'm the Reverend Verdis Robinson, Minister for Growth here at First Unitarian, but I'm also here with Amanda, our Director of Religious Education. We're here with Chris, who is our worship associate this morning, as well as we have Pablo, who was our music director. We have our choir that is here, or a remnant of our choir. We're so glad that you're here as well. And we have our ukulele choir, so you're going to be favored with a couple of selections that they've been working hard on. So not only that, but the person who is going to be preaching this morning is our very own Reverend Dr. Lynn. And Reverend Dr. Lynn was ordained as a UU minister in 2000. She has served congregations and worked as a hospice chaplain. And for the past 10 years, she has been a licensed mental health counselor in private practice here in Rochester, New York. She specializes in grief, spiritual issues, and family conflict. She is also the owner of Crossbridge Wellness, a wellness center, including a variety of different kinds of therapists. She has dabbled also in church consulting. She is an affiliate community minister here, and she lives here in Rochester with her husband and 2 dogs, and she has 2 adult sons and a daughter-in-law. And we welcome you to the pulpit this morning. Thank you so much for being here. Here at First Unitarian Church of Rochester, our mission is, through spiritual connection and community, we listen deeply to others and ourselves, open to wonder and transformation, and serve together with love and humility. We acknowledge with respect the Seneca Nation, keepers of the Western Door, and part of the Haudenosaunee people, on whose ancestral lands First Unitarian now stands. And if you're new or newish, please make sure to stop at the welcome desk so that we can help you connect. And if you're here today because you're going through a hard time or worried about someone else, please connect with our pastoral care associate during or after our service today. So as we settle in, let's take some time to breathe. Let's do one deep breath. So everyone breathe with me. And I invite you to light a chalice wherever you are, those of you who are joining us on YouTube. And here in the sanctuary, Amanda is going to light our chalice here. And the second graders, let's go. All right. We got our second graders this morning, and they're going to help light the chalice this morning as well. And as they light the chalice, please join me in our unison words. Life is a gift for which we are grateful. We gather in community to celebrate the glories and the mysteries of this great gift. Thank you. Now please rise in body or in spirit as we sing hymn number 402 from our gray hymnals, From You I Receive.
Morning, everybody. So you all received an email earlier this week that said the service this Sunday is going to be about math. And you lost an hour's sleep last night. And when you woke up, it was doing that outside. And you're still here. So you all get 1 million fake internet points. Congratulations. It's Chris Dorso. My pronouns are he, him, and his. And when I was in the last millennium, it was at a time when I had a lot more hair and a lot of style, and I was a big old math nerd back in the day. My sole extracurricular activity was the math team, and that was me in a nutshell. And I knew that I was I knew I was good at math. Like, that was a skill that I knew I had. But when I went away to college, I knew I wanted to be a journalist. And so I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to double major in journalism and in math. I can sort of, my parents happy because, like, oh, you're good at math, but also do what I knew I really wanted to do. So got to college and I took Calc 3 my first semester freshman year, and I got an A in the class, and I was doing really well. First day of my second year came to pass, and I went to the first day of, I picture it to this day, 30-some years later, Math 324, first day of Math 324, analysis with Dr. Gary Towsley, who I'm sure is a wonderful human being, but the things that he was talking about and putting on, I was going to say the screen, but it was probably a chalkboard, wasn't it? Okay, I'm going to go hide. But see, like I told you, like, the story changes it's very different when you see it in the second service than when you see it in the first service, because you have these little weird realization moments that I am older than I think I am. But anyway, focus. So it was space, something that I could not realistically see myself doing for any longer at all. And so I went from class, I walked over to the registrar's office, and I said, do I have enough math already done and complete to never do math ever again? And they said, yeah, you're good. You actually have enough to complete a minor if you just take one more logic class. And I said, oh, logic. I like logic. I can do logic. That's fine. I said, yes. And so from that point, I dropped the math major successfully and have not done math since. No, I'm just kidding. Kids, keep math. The other part where the story changes in the second service. And so that is ultimately why we go to church, right? Because, and bear with me, because sometimes life throws you a curveball. Sometimes you think you're really good at, or something that you think you know better than anybody, proves a challenge maybe you're not up for. Or maybe you say to yourself, this isn't my passion, this isn't my dream, this isn't what I want to do. And you need to make a change. You need to make a turn and listen to the world, listen to your gut, listen to, even though it may be something that you think, or your parents think, that you're really passionate about. And so with that, I want you to take a quick second and greet your neighbor and share with them, if you will, something from your experience, maybe from school, that you thought would be a bigger part of your life right now, and maybe it isn't. And share, and then Pablo will, and the ukulele group, or the choir? Music will happen, and then you will come back, we'll continue. We're glad you're here.
Good morning. Wow, that was so nice. Really was nice, wasn't it, Pandy? Yes. Well, Pandy wanted to come with me this morning to church because we're talking about something that Pandy is kind of excited about. We're talking about families. Families, we're talking about families. I'm so excited. Oh, yeah, it's a good topic. It's a good topic, Pandy. And I wanted to start by just trying to name, like, all the different kinds of families. There's so many different kinds of families. And I want you to really listen, because if I don't name your kind of family, I'm going to try to name as many as I can think of. But I want you to shout out and remind me. So let's see, Pandy. We thought of a bunch, right? Yes, we did. So we thought of, big families, really big families. And we thought of little families. And we thought of families where there's one parent, two parents, three, or even more parents. We thought of families where there are people who are divorced in the family, or people who are married, or sometimes people who aren't married, but they live together, and sometimes people who are divorced who still live together. That happens too. So what else did we think of, Pandy? Oh, we thought of sometimes grandparents are raising children, or other family members are raising children. We thought of adoptive families, families where children come into a family after they were born. Yeah, those are some that we thought of. I feel like there's a couple that I missed that I thought of. Oh, there's step families. So two families that have separate children and then come together to be one family. Oh, and there are half siblings in families, and there's one that I'm trying to remember. Oh my goodness, do you want to shout any out for me? Foster families. Friends as family. I'm glad you said that one. Someone in the last service said, I live with my cat, and my cat is like my immediate family, but I bet that person has a lot of friends that are their family, right? That's really important too. Yeah. There are black families, yes. Families without children, yes. There are families of adults, people who choose to live together as adults and don't have children. Any other kind of families that I might have missed? The church is a family. That is true. So larger communities that we're part of, that we're a family. There are homeless families, families that are experiencing homelessness. That is also true. Blended families. And what are you thinking of? Yep. Yes, so half siblings, families that join together and build a family together. So, wow, that's a lot of different kinds of families. That is true. And Pandy, was there something in particular about families that you wanted to talk about today? Yes. Oh, can you tell us what it is? Oh, I think I see someone who might have another kind of family. What is it? Gay families. Yes, gay families. Really important to mention. Thank you. So what did you want to talk about, Pandy? Siblings. Oh, siblings are such an important part of families, right? What were you thinking about siblings? Well, I'm the youngest sibling. I'm the youngest child. And sometimes people say I'm the baby, but I'm not a baby. Oh, Pandy, it sounds like you feel strongly about that. Would you like to see if there's anybody else out there who is the youngest child in their family? You could raise your hand so Pandy can see that there's a lot of you out there. Oh, wow. Oh, if we checked the whole solar system, the whole United States? Yeah. You're the youngest. Wow. Oh, of all of your family that's everywhere in the United States or in the solar system, you are the youngest of your whole family. Amazing. Wow. Wow. Oh, yes. Youngest, but then a sister came along. So, yeah, that happens too. So, Amanda, are you the youngest too? You are just like me, so I think you maybe are the youngest. I am not, Pandy. I'm glad you think I'm like you. I think we are alike in some ways. I am the oldest. Anybody out there the oldest? The oldest. Wow, look at them. They look so responsible. Yeah, you know what, Pandy? That can be part of being an oldest. Not always, but sometimes. What about other siblings in the family? Yes, like middle children. We cannot forget about them. The middle children. Let's raise hands if we're middle children. We're in the middle. Yeah, cool. Yeah, middle children. And how about, Pandy, what about like Rostam? Oh yeah, like my son Rostam is a single child. He's the only child in my family. Any only children out there? Only single children? Yeah. Is that lonely? Oh, well, Pandy, I think we all feel lonely sometimes, right? And you know what Rostam would say? He gets all of our attention. So it's pretty great for him. We just play with him all the time, so he's really not too lonely. Yes. Thank you. So that was another one I was going to name is there are multiples. That's a different kind of sibling. Multiples. So if you have a twin or triplets. So if you are part of a twin or triplets or multiples, can you raise your hand and just let us know? Cool. Part of twins. Yeah. I'm not, but I'm raising my hand in solidarity with Sarah. We had a pair of twins at the last service. So, did you have a last comment? And then we're going to close it up.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy, but for some reason there's people that
Well, you know what? Wait, let's see. What is it? Go ahead.
people can sometimes be two-headed.
Oh, so sometimes there's conjoined twins. So yeah, sure. That could happen too. So we are going to wrap up our story. And Pandy, thank you for coming today and talking about siblings with me. Oh, it was really nice to see all of you today. Pandy, do you want to say our words to say goodbye? Yes. May this story unfold in your hearts until we meet again. All right. Sing our children out to their classes.
We bless you on your journey through, from sheltering arms to the wide sky blue, in your joyful jumps and your sad times too. You bless us by being you.
Oh, Sarah, should we take any? Did they get?
I was going to do the Pandy voice, but I won't. This covenant was written and affirmed here in 2002, and we will, as a community, make a new covenant in April of this year. This is our covenant of right relations. As a religious community, we support each other in our search for truth and right action. We remind ourselves of basic beliefs concerning ways to treat one another. We check our own responses to be sure we are showing respect to the person who may have a different perspective. We tap into our reservoirs of kindness and empathy as we speak and listen. We seek to make our generosity of spirit explicit. In this time of transition in our religious community, I intend to Listen attentively, acknowledge others' views, and try to imagine holding their opinions. To refrain from judging other people's motives and opinions. To seek accurate information, to be willing to test my assumptions, and to examine my own motives. To communicate openly, directly, and honestly. I will go directly to a person with whom I disagree and share differences respectfully. If needed, I will use a third party to mediate. To balance being open to new ideas and respecting our traditions. To stay engaged, to be patient with myself, others, and the process of change. To allow space for feelings and emotions, mine and others. To lighten up, let go of the trivial, and be willing to give and take. And to remind myself that we are all working for the shared goal of supporting our religious community. This is our covenant of right relations.
I'm going to use the pulpit mic because I have a red light on my mic. As we enter into this time of silence, you can place your hand over your heart if you desire. Feel your heartbeat. Feel the ground beneath you. And let's join together in community silence. And as we create an atmosphere of prayer and meditation, these are the words from Adam Slate. Spirit of life, spirit of love, spirit of hope, spirit of justice, God known by many different names and none at all. You have given us a day unique from any other. You have connected us, all of us, with each other and with the world in ways that are largely a mystery to us. You have given us little instruction other than to be present in our own lives, to feel wonder at the creations of the universe, and to love one another. You have put gifts and challenges in our paths, joys and sorrows, strengths and frailties, some of which we have already encountered, and others we have yet to discover. On this unique day, may we receive exactly what it is that we need. Amen. May it be so, and blessed be. Now we enter into a ritual to bring what is on our hearts and lay it on the altar of this community and spirit. Honoring the complexities of life, bring to mind whatever grief, growth, or gratitude that is alive within you this morning. I should say afternoon now. And online, if you're joining us on YouTube, please feel free to share in the chat on YouTube. And here on the sanctuary, you're invited to come forward and light a candle. And if you'd like one of us to bring a candle to you, please raise your hand, and we will be delighted to do so. May we now share in this ritual of community care and witness to one another's hearts. that we hold in our hearts for ourselves, for each other, and for the world is held in this community and by a love that will not let us go. Amen.
I'd like to invite the choir members to come up and help us lead this musical meditation. Joy in the morning. Here we go. We'll find joy in the morning. Joy in the morning. Joy in the morning. In the morning we'll find joy. We're going to do that verse one more time. Don't worry about the words. Listen to it. We'll find joy. Here we go. We'll find joy in the morning. Joy in the morning. Joy in the morning. In the morning we'll find joy. We're going to do that verse one more time, and let's do some harmonies. And here we go. We'll find joy in the morning. Joy in the morning. Joy in the morning. In the morning we'll find joy. Next verse says, we find hope in our children. Here we go. We find hope in our children. Hope in our children. Hope in our children. In our children we find hope. Next line
Each week, members and friends generously contribute to our offering, which helps to sustain and grow our community. This collection supports the work and witness of our church, and each week we give half of this collection to a partner organization helping those in need and working to create a more just and loving world. This week, we share the plate collection with the League of Women Voters Rochester Metro Education Fund. The fund works to register voters and provide election information on a nonpartisan basis to encourage the informed and active participation of citizens in government. The League also works to influence public policy through education and advocacy. The League welcomes all people, and its registration efforts have a special focus on registering citizens from low registration areas, from high school and college, the homeless, and newly naturalized citizens at naturalization ceremonies. You can give online at rochesterunitarian.org/donate, through Venmo with the with the handle on the screen, or in our baskets, which are about to make their way around the room. Our offering will now be received with gratitude. Our reading today is from Paul Lockhart in his book, A Mathematician's Lament. For me, math is an adventure, a journey. I usually know more or less where I want to go, I just don't know how to get there. The only thing I do know is that I'm not going to get there without a lot of pain and frustration and crumpled up paper. So, let's imagine you've been playing with this problem for a while, and then at some point you have this realization. What this pattern is saying is that any square design can be broken into pieces which are just the odd numbers. So you try out some chopping ideas. Your first few attempts are unsuccessful, have no real unity to them. They're random seeming and do not generalize. Then all of a sudden, in one breathless, heart-stopping moment, the clouds part, and you can see. A square is a collection of nested L shapes, and these L shapes contain precisely the odd numbers. Eureka! You see now why mathematicians jump out of bathtubs and run naked through the streets? You see why this useless childish activity is so compelling? The thing I want you to especially to understand is the feeling of divine revelation. I feel the structure was out there all along, I just couldn't see it, and now I can. This is what really keeps me in the math game, the chance that I might glimpse some secret underlying math, some underlying truth, some sort of message from the gods. To me, this kind of mathematical experience goes to the heart of what it means to be human. And I'll go even further to say that mathematics, this art of abstract pattern making, even more so than storytelling, painting, or music, is our most quintessentially human art form. This is what our brains do, whether we like it or not. We are biochemical pattern recognition machines, and mathematics is nothing less than the distilled essence of who we are.
Good morning, or maybe it's afternoon, I don't know.
Good afternoon.
Hold on to your seats. You are in a math class, a church math class. Paul Lockhart critiques public school education, math education, saying that we don't actually teach math, so no wonder people hate it. We just heard in today's reading about the heart of what math really is. That is something that I absolutely love, it turns out, patterns. Not somebody telling me what patterns exist and then memorizing them for a test. No, it's about considering possibilities, exploring, discovering, and being thrilled to identify and understand a pattern that makes sense of something that just a moment before seemed random and incomprehensible. That is exactly what I like about patterns in my field, too. Family systems theory is about discovering how people relate and learning to understand who we are. What makes human patterns even more fascinating and challenging is that we are a part of the systems. And for all of you mathematicians out there, that's as though you were like actually a number in one of the sets that you're trying to make sense of. This makes it a lot harder to recognize what's actually happening and highly valuable when we do. If we take the time to search out and understand and optimize these patterns for good in our lives, we can help bring about divine revelation in our relationships, or at least become the best we can be as individuals and as a church community. That is worthy of a Sunday service. Let me explain. A number of years ago, I realized that my sister and I were not close. We always lived in different cities as adults, and we rarely talked by phone. I was feeling sad about that, and I was wondering, well, why? Maybe, probably, because we were so different. We're almost opposites. I'm creative and empathic, focused on people and relationships, always questioning. My spiritual and social values are quite progressive. She is scientifically minded, analytical, often a black and white thinker. She gets right into the bloods and guts of the practical world, quite literally as a military flight surgeon and as a medical doctor and colonel in the United States Army. She is religiously and politically conservative. We are both leaders, but in vastly different realms. I used to rationalize that we didn't talk that much because we are so dissimilar. Frankly, I often found her incomprehensible. It was easier to keep her at a distance. And that is one of the biggest problems in our world today. So finally, I started to think deeper and to look for relationship patterns. I always knew what was going on in my sister's life, even though we rarely spoke. How? I talked to my mother on a regular basis. My mother would update me in great detail. I didn't really need to talk to my sister since I already knew all about her. That was the real problem. It was my mother's fault. Then one day, I decided that I would do the hard work and ask myself those questions that I don't like to answer, the ones that I'm always asking my clients. What is my responsibility in this? What pattern is going on here, and what is my role in keeping that pattern the way it is? How am I contributing, maybe unwittingly, but still contributing to what is taking place? And what is going on with me that I'm reacting in this particular way? It is so much easier to blame someone else, and that in itself is a common human pattern. When I looked at my own role, I noticed a typical relational pattern from geometry, the triangle. The triangle. Let's try that again. The triangle. Can somebody help me here? No, we went too far now. There we go, here we go. Okay, now we got the triangle. We have myself, my sister, and my mother as points on the triangle. Triangle relationships are very common in human relationships. They happen when people don't communicate directly with each other, but instead talk about each other through a third party. They can also happen when people avoid dealing with a problem between oneself and another person by focusing the majority of one's attention on someone else who brings much easier and more positive feelings. Maybe someone who shares similar worldviews. In this case, the easier relationship was with my mother and myself. So that is the parallel line, shows a close relationship. In those days, if I talked to my sister directly, I might have felt uncomfortable sharing something personal that she might question, or hearing her say things that I disagreed with. And that the dotted line represents a distant relationship. Letting communication go through my mother kept things at a safe distance. I could express my disagreement with my sister's point of view to my mother. My mother would understand my point, or at least listen, and I didn't have to hear my sister's response and risk getting into some kind of tense discussion. The triangle kept that discomfort at a distance. But it also prevented my sister and I from having a close relationship. Tension can deepen relationships if it's handled in a healthy way. In fact, some level of tension is necessary for a healthy relationship. Now, I'm not talking about shouting and criticism and belittling or stony silence. What I'm talking about is healthy conflict through deep, meaningful discussions between people who share different perspectives. At its best, this can result in maybe a decision to agree to disagree, or maybe lead to a slight shift in each person's perspective. So I finally decided it was worth taking some risk and have a little bit of tension to have a better relationship with my sister. I made a conscious decision to change the long-standing triangle pattern. I asked my mother to stop telling me about my sister's life. If I started to talk to my sister, if she started to talk about my sister, then I redirected her to other subjects. This forced her out of being a point on the relational triangle between my sister and I. It also forced me to either not know anything about my sister anymore or actually pick up the phone and maybe talk to her. I chose to pick up the phone. So we started to talk often, and we would even get together more often. It takes a lot of effort to change a pattern. To start with, I had to navigate my mother's discomfort when I asked her not to tell me about my sister's life anymore. She had always done this. It was a very familiar pattern to both of us. Once I started talking to my sister directly, we did have to navigate the areas of religious and political tension. We learned to respect our different values and try not to convince each other of our own perspective. It turns out, though, that it was harder for me to wrestle with something else, which is the contrast between her highly rational and analytical approach to life and my empathic, emotional, and creative approach to life. That part is still a work in progress. But we spend much more time together and we enjoy each other's company. Now, here comes a crucial point. So it's time to get out those pens, take some notes, be ready for the pop quiz later in the service. The triangle pattern was there, whether I chose to discover it and work with it or not. However, when I let myself notice that relational pattern, then I have some choices. I could emphasize and build up the patterns that bring health, or rework and reframe the patterns that don't serve me well. Change doesn't happen overnight, but in a long, slow process of determination and resilience. In the end, it can sometimes affect entire family systems in a positive way, and that is why I love my work as a licensed mental health counselor and a consultant, because real and meaningful change does happen. When multiple people work towards positive change in an organization or in a society, we can transform systems. This congregation has done that kind of work together on multiple occasions, and the work continues with your help. Now, for the next part of my sermon, I want to extend a very special thank you to some longtime members who sat down with me and spent some time telling me about systems patterns in the church that they had observed. So thank you to Ann Perry, Barbara DeLeo, Linda and David Friedman, and also a very big thank you to Bill Folgate for sharing his historical writings and research on this congregation. Now, please note, not any one of them had anything to do with making you feel like you're in a math class today. They just talked about church systems. Congregations often have triangle relationships in them. This church has dealt with indirect communication through triangles so often that it was included in our Covenant of Right Relations, which hangs on the wall by the church office. You heard it earlier, but I'm going to say it again. Number 4, communicate openly, directly, and honestly. I will go directly to the person with whom I disagree and share differences respectfully. If needed, I will use a third party to mediate. The Covenant of Right Relations is a set of formulas for healthy communication. But just like in math, the real math that Paul Lockhart describes as an art, human relationship is also an art, not a science. The best artists of human relationship pay attention to patterns of interaction in their lives and notice what's beneficial or not. What exceptions might there be to this standard rule? Many relational triangles are damaging. Some are actually beneficial. I'm a part of relational triangles all day in my work. People share what's going on in their relationships, and I help them sort things out. It is a healthy triangle because I'm trained and because I'm a neutral outside party who has no stake in their struggles and their disagreements. So another possible formula to look for in human relationship is if A, then B. And my example of this is if there's an overfunctioner in the system, then there is an underfunctioner in the system. And then you can find all kinds of different A's and B's. But the other thing is if there's an overfunctioner and an underfunctioner, then you're going to have tension. So think about what if this, then that patterns might be in your life. The next relational pattern that happens oftentimes in conflictual congregations, and has happened here, various times over the course of our history is a pattern that's best shown with a Venn diagram, which illustrates sets and subsets. So I'm going to explain that first. So this is a Venn diagram. The blue rectangle is the set of all people who are members of this congregation. And then circle A is all of the people who are part of one subset, and circle B is all of the people who are part of another subset. So one example of that, and this one is the amount in the diagrams is not specific to this church, but blue is the members of the congregation. A is all of the families who are connected in one way or another with the religious education program. And B is a circle representing all of the people who attend Sunday worship. And so there's an area of overlap and there's separate areas as well. And that could also get more complicated if you add another subset. So we have A, all the families connected to religious education, B, everybody who attends some Sunday worship, and then C is all the people and families that don't have anybody connected to the religious education program. So, just overlaps in different ways. When subsets, so we've explained the subsets, but when they become conflictual and divisive, they turn into factions. Not fractions, but it's closely related. For example, some congregations have a religious education faction and an adult worship faction. In conflictual times throughout the history of our church, we have had groups for and against a variety of issues. Sometimes this has gotten to the point of factions. For example, in the 1850s, Reverend William Henry Channing left our church after only 1 year because of a high level of conflict in the congregation. A historian writing about that time period said, "There are persons of extreme and pronounced opinions, sharply opposed to each other on political and social questions." Later in our church history, factions have developed over approaches to social justice. Over the past 30 years, we've had factions develop several times over a staff person or a clergy person. In those cases, one faction has wanted the person to resign, and the other person has wanted them to stay. In some cases, those factions also included subsets of people who had certain information and people who did not have that certain information. So all kinds of interlocking subsets there. Factions are an intense form of conflict avoidance. In the relational triangle with my mother, my sister, and I, we still valued each other, even when we didn't talk directly. When conflict gets to the point of factions, one group sees the other group in a completely negative light. Just listen to the news. We've got Democrats and Republicans, pro-Trump and anti-Trump, pro-Israel and pro-Palestine, people who work to dismantle white supremacy culture, and people who fight so-called woke culture. The terms themselves are conflictual. In today's society, we spend time with people who share our political, religious, and cultural views. This means that there are no soul-searching conversations that could lead to even a marginal shift in anyone's perspective. This is one of the reasons that I pulled back from Unitarian Universalism a few years ago. Some of you may remember my Labyrinth service a year ago on Spiritual Journey. I saw growing extremism and building of camps in Unitarian Universalism as a whole. I came back to Unitarian Universalism for a variety of reasons, but one of them is that I realized factions are a part of our whole society, and our religion sometimes reflects that. But at our best, Unitarian Universalists are part of the solution. The best way to live out our UU values is by engaging in difficult conversations which are also deeply respectful. And this has happened here. For example, 10 years ago, our congregation didn't acknowledge the effects of systemic racism on Unitarian Universalism and in our society. That has changed significantly in recent years through focused and intentional work. This shift shapes our conversations and approaches to anti-racism in the larger culture, and vice versa. The keys to changing patterns are, number one, consciousness about what relational patterns are taking place in our lives and becoming aware of our own role in those patterns. And then secondly, intentionality, choosing what we want to change and understanding why it might be important. Finally, not all relational patterns are bad. It is equally important, maybe even more important, to identify positive patterns and discover our own role in continuing those or building on them. The same self-reflection questions are important. What pattern is going on here, and how am I helping to keep the pattern the way it is? What's going on with me that I'm behaving in this way? What does my contribution to this pattern, how does my contribution to this pattern benefit me? What's my responsibility in relation to this pattern? There are many positive patterns in this congregation. One of those is a long-standing pattern of generosity. Congregants have shared time and talent to help people in need as far back as 1837, when Myron Holley brought his anti-slavery leadership to our church. In the 1840s, the congregation raised money to build a new building and then hosted the Second Women's Right Convention there in 1848. In 1918, this church opened the doors of our parish house to create a temporary hospital during the influenza pandemic. And currently, we are in the 18th year of our Greater Good Project, which asks members to cut their usual holiday spending in half, and then the other half is contributed to a worthy community project chosen by the students in our religious education program. I haven't yet figured out a way to describe this pattern of generosity in mathematical terms, maybe some sort of loaves and fishes multiplication, like the story in the Bible where there were 5 loaves and 2 fishes, you remember, and they ended up feeding multitudes. Or maybe some kind of the whole is larger than the sum of the parts kind of formula. So what is the actual formula behind generosity in this congregation? And somebody actually gave me an interesting mathematical idea, but I'm not going to share it with you because I want you to think. So after the service, somebody came up with one. What is that formula? What is my own role? How can I shift my own role or build it to develop that pattern, whatever it is? I know I'll have fun playing around with ideas to identify and describe this, and maybe you can help. What do you observe? How do you describe the pattern? Together, we can explore other possible patterns going on in this congregation. What's happening? What is my role? What is your role? When we recognize patterns and our own roles in them, then we have a very powerful tool. Explore, have fun, discover and change patterns. In the end, playing with relational patterns can be a holy undertaking that brings emotional and spiritual wholeness to ourselves and to our communities. Oh yeah, we can't end on that. Well, anyway.
Please rise and bow your spirit one more time as we join together singing For the Beauty of the Earth.
As we bring our service to a close, I invite you to stay and help stack only the chairs with arms. If you so desire, help us out there. And we will extinguish our chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the worth of our community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Go forth and pay attention. Notice and discover the patterns in your lives. Consider letting go of those that don't serve you well. And most of all, though, build up those patterns that bring you and those around you health and healing.